incubation stage. For more than a decade before the outbreak of the American Revolution in 1775, tensions had been building between colonists and the British authorities. The French and the Indian War, or 7 Years' War, brought new territories under the power of the crown, but the expensive conflict led to the new and unpopular taxes. Attempts by the British government to raise revenue by taxing the colonies were met with heated protests and demanded the same rights as other British subjects. Resistance led to violence in 1770 when British soldiers killed 5 men, known as the Boston Massacre. After December 1773, when a band of Bostonians dressed as Mohawk Indians boarded British ships and dumped 342 chests of tea into Boston Harbor. During the Boston Tea Party, an outraged Parliament passed a series of measures designed to reassert imperial authority in Massachusetts. In response, a group of colonial delegates met in Philadelphia in September 1774 to give voice to their grievances against the British Crown. The First Continental Congress denounced taxation without representation, as well as the maintenance of the British Army and the colonies without their consent. It issued a declaration of the rights due every citizen. The Continental Congress voted to meet again in May 1775 to consider further action, but by that time, violence symptomatic stage. On April 18, 1775, British troops marched from Boston to Concord, Massachusetts in order to seize and arms cash. Paul Revere and other writers sounded the alarm, and colonial militiamen began mobilizing to intercept the redcoats. On April 19th, local militiamen clashed with British soldiers in the battles of Lexington and Concord, Massachusetts, marking the shot heard around the world that started the Revolutionary War. When the Second Continental Congress convened in Philadelphia, delegates voted to form a Continental Army with Washington as its commander-in-chief on June 17th in the Revolution's first major battle. Colonial forces inflicted heavy casualties on the British regiment of General William Howe at Breed's Hill in Boston, known as the Battle of Bunker Hill, which ended in British victory but lent encouragement to the revolutionary cause. The British evacuated the city in March 1776, with Howe and his men retreating to Canada to prepare a major crisis stage. By June 1776, with the Revolutionary War in full swing, a growing majority of the colonists favored independence from Britain. On July 4th, the Continental Congress voted to adopt the Declaration of Independence, drafted by a 5-man committee, including Franklin and John Adams, but written mainly by Jefferson. The British government sent a large fleet along with more than 34,000 troops to New York. Pushed across the Delaware River, Washington fought back with a surprise attack in Trenton, New Jersey on Christmas night and won another victory at Princeton. British strategy in 1777 involved two main prongs of attack aimed at separating New England from the other colonies. General John Burgoyne's army marched south from Canada toward a planned meeting with Howe's forces on the Hudson River. Burgoyne's men dealt a devastating loss to the Americans in July by retaking Fort Ticonderoga, while Howe decided to move his troops southward from New York to confront Washington's army near the Chesapeake Bay. The British defeated the Americans at Brandywine Creek, Pennsylvania on September 11th and entered Philadelphia on September 25th. Washington rebounded to strike Germantown in early October before withdrawing to Winter Center's quarters near Valley Forge. This left Burgoyne's army exposed near Saratoga, New York, and the British suffered the consequences on this September 19th when an American force under General Herbert Gates defeated them at Freeman's Farm in the First Battle of Saratoga. After suffering another defeat on October 7th at Bemis Heights, October 17th, the American victory at Saratoga would prove to be a turning point of the American Revolution as it prompted France to enter the war openly on the American side. The American Revolution, which began as a civil conflict between Britain and its colonies, have become a world lesson stage. On June 28, 1778, as British forces under Sir Henry Clinton attempted to withdraw from Philadelphia to New York, Washington's army attacked them near Monmouth, New Jersey. The battle effectively ended in a draw as the Americans held their ground, but Clinton was able to get his army and supplies safely to New York. A joint attack on the British at Newport, Rhode Island, in late July failed, and for the most part, the war settled into the stalemate phase in the north. The Americans suffered another number of setbacks from 1779 to 1781. In the south, the British occupied Georgia by early 1779 and captured Charleston, South Carolina in May 1780. Nathanael Greene replaced Gates as the American commander in the south, and that December, General Daniel Morgan scored a victory against a British force led by Colonel Benastry Tarleton at Cowpens, North Carolina, on January 17, 1781. Washington moved against Yorktown with a total of around 14,000 soldiers, while a fleet of 36 French warships offshore prevented British reinforcement or evacuation. Cornwallis was forced to surrender his entire army on October 19th. The British surrendered after O'Hara approached Rochambeau to surrender his sword. Through the movement for American independence effectively triumphed at the Battle of Yorktown, contemporary observers did not see that is a decisive victory yet. The British removal of their troops from Charleston and Savannah in late 1782 finally pointed at the end of the conflict. The British and American negotiators in Paris signed preliminary peace terms in Paris late that November, and on September 3rd, 1783, Great Britain formally recognized the independence of the United States in the Treaty of Paris. At the Battle of Cowpens in the South Carolina, January 1781, during the Revolutionary War, troops under General Daniel Morgan routed British forces. Even though Americans had heavy casualties, this was the turning point in the Southern campaign. The Battle of Guilford Courthouse in North Carolina in March 15, 1781 pivoted to the American victory. Although British troops scored a tactical victory at this battle under Major General Nathanael Greene, British suffered significant losses, which led to the Americans winning this battle. And Greene was ultimately disappointed because they led a retreat to the